As I said in my last video, too often the media seem to think stories about the environment are touchy-feely human interest pieces rather than science. So instead of assigning the snow-free Britain story to a science journalist who might have determined that it was crap, they give it to a journalist who apparently specializes in human rights issues. And instead of citing scientific studies and peer-reviewed research papers, Onions gives us quotes from Hamley's Toy Store, the Fenland Indoor Speed Skating Club, a local historian, an anthropologist, and, oh yes, a scientist, Dr. David Viner of the Climatic Research Unit. No research was cited in support of it, including Viner's. Someone wrote to me saying Viner should issue a retraction. Yes, I'd like him to go even further, a retraction and an explanation. But Viner has been surprisingly silent on this ever since snowmen, sledges and snowballs unexpectedly appeared on his doorstep last November. I wrote to him through the British Council, where he now works, and got this rather lame reply, filtered through the British Council's Public Relations Department. Over the past decade, climate science has moved on considerably, and there is now more understanding about the impact climate change will have on weather patterns in the coming years. It has indeed moved on, but not to the extent that 10 years ago researchers thought snow would be a rarity within a few years, and within a few years they completely changed their minds. I can't find anything in the scientific literature 10 years ago that supports Viner's statement, and his unwillingness to defend the rare snow idea by citing any can only lead to the conclusion that there isn't any. Apart from Viner, Onions refers to only one other scientist, but doesn't quote him at all. Onions writes, David Parker at the Hadley Centre for Climate Prediction and Research in Berkshire says ultimately British children could have only virtual experience of snow. No timescale is given. Ultimately could mean 100 or 150 years from now. As well as an explanation from Viner, I think we also deserve an explanation from The Independent. If this is supposed to be science news, why was a science reporter not assigned? Why wasn't a single scientific paper cited in support of the story's premise? Why wasn't it corroborated by climatologists who are actually doing research into European weather patterns? Because The Independent's claim bears no relation to anything in the scientific literature at the time, and it's the scientific literature that represents our knowledge of science, not quotes in the popular press. If Onions or his editor had bothered to check, they would have found a wealth of research on European weather patterns,